Hello friends, the exchange rates quoted by banks to their customer are based on the rates prevalent in the interbank market. The big banks in the market are known as market makers as they are willing to buy or sell foreign currencies at the rates quoted by them up to any extent. When a banker approaches the market maker, it would not reveal its intention to buy or sell the currency. This is done in order to get a fair price from the market maker. Hence, in today's session, we will attempt to understand various currency quotes prevalent in foreign exchange market, two-way quotations, direct as well as indirect quotations, spot and forward transactions, spot rates with premium and discounts, forward margin or swap points. Also, we will talk about factors determining the spot exchange rates in international market and its Indian context. Okay, so let us start discussing the two-way quotations in the interbank market. Typically, the quotation in the interbank market is a two-way quotation. It means the rate quoted by the market maker will indicate two prices, one at which it is willing to buy the foreign currency and the other at which it is willing to sell the foreign currency. For example, a Mumbai bank may quote its rate for US dollar as $1 for rupees 48.1525/1650. More often, the rate would be quoted as 1525/1650 since the players in the market are expected to know the big number, that is 48. In the given quotation, one rate is rupees 48.1525 per dollar and the other rate is rupees 48.1650 per dollar. Now, talking about direct quotation, it will be obvious that the quoting bank will be willing to buy dollars at rupees 48.1525 and sell dollars at rupees 48.1650. If $1 bought and sold, the bank makes a gross profit of rupees 0.0125. In a foreign exchange quotation, the foreign currency is the commodity that is being bought and sold. The exchange quotation, which gives the price for the foreign currency in terms of the domestic currency, is known as direct quotation. In a direct quotation, the quoting bank will apply the rule buy low, sell high. Now, talking about indirect quotation, there is another way of quoting in the foreign exchange market. The Mumbai bank quotes the rate for dollar as rupees 100 is equal to US dollar 2.0762/0767. This type of quotation, which gives the quantity of foreign currency per unit of domestic currency, is known as indirect quotation. In this case, the quoting bank will receive US dollar 2.0767 per rupees 100 while buying dollars and give away US dollar 2.0762 per rupees 100 while selling dollars. In other words, he will apply the rule buy high, sell low. The buying rate is also known as the bid rate and the selling rate as the offer rate. So now let us discuss about spot and forward transactions. The transactions in the interbank market may place for settlement on the same day or 2 days later or some day late, say after a month. Where the agreement to buy and sell is agreed upon and executed on the same date, the transaction is known as cash or ready transaction. It is also known as value today. The transaction where the exchange of currencies takes place 2 days after the date of contract is known as the spot transaction. For instance, if the contract is made on Monday, the delivery should take place on Wednesday. If Wednesday is a holiday, the delivery will take place on the next day, that is Thursday. Rupee payment is also made on the same day the foreign currency is received. The transaction in which the exchange of currencies take place at a specified future date subsequent to the spot date is known as a forward transaction. The forward transaction can be for delivery 1 month or 2 months or 3 months etc. A forward contract for delivery 1 month means the exchange of currencies will take place after 1 month from the date of contract. A forward contract for delivery 2 months means the exchange of currencies will take place after 2 months and so on. Talking about forward margin or swap points, forward rate may be the same as the spot rate for the currency. Then it is said to be at par with the spot rate, but this rarely happens. More often, the forward rate for a currency may be costlier or cheaper than its spot rate. The difference between the forward rate and spot rate is known as the forward margin or swap points. The forward margin may be either at premium or at discount. If the forward margin is at discount, the foreign currency will be cheaper for forward delivery than the spot delivery. Under direct quotation, premium is added to spot rate to arrive at the forward rate. This is done for both purchase and sale transactions. Discount is deducted from the spot rate to arrive at the forward rate. Now, let us learn about interpretation of interbank quotation. The market quotation for a currency consists of spot rate and the forward margin. The outright forward rate has to be calculated by loading the forward margin into the spot rate. For instance, US dollar is quoted as under in the interbank. The following points should be noted in interpreting the quotation given on the screen. First, the first statement is the spot rate for dollars. The quoting bank buying rate is rupees 48.4000 and the selling rate is rupees 48.4200. Second and third statements are forward margins for forward delivery during the months of February. Spot or March respectively, spot or February rate is valid for delivery and February. Spot or March rate is valid for delivery and March. Third, the margin is expressed in points, that is 0.0001 of the currency. Therefore, the forward margin for February is 20 paisa and 21 paise. Fourth, the first rate in the spot quotation is for buying and the second for selling the foreign currency. Correspondingly, in the forward margin, the first rate relates to buying and the second to selling. Taking spot February as an example, the margin of 20 paisa is for purchase and 21 paise is for sale of foreign currency. Fifth, where the forward margin for a month is given in ascending order, as in the quotation above, it indicates that the forward currency is at premium. The outright forward rates are arrived at by adding the forward margin to the spot rates. The outright forward rates for dollar can be derived from the above quotation given on the screen. From the above calculation that is given on screen, we arrive at the following outright rates. If the forward currency is at discount, it would be indicated by quoting the forward margin in the descending order. Suppose that on 20th April, the quotation for pound sterling in the interbank market is as follow. Since the forward margin is in descending order, that is 3800, 3600, forward sterling is at discount. The outright forward rates are calculated by deducting the related discount from the spot rate. Thus, it is shown on the screen. From the previous calculation, the outright rates for pound sterling can be restated as given on the screen. Now, let us discuss exchange quotation in international market. In international markets, barring few exceptions, all rates are quoted in terms of US dollar. For instance, at Singapore, Swiss franc may be quoted at 1.5425/5440 and Japanese yen at 104.67/70. This should be understood as USD1 is equal to Swiss franc 1.5425 1.5440 and USD1 is equal to Japanese yen 104.67-104.70. In interpreting an international market quotation, we may approach from the variable currency or the base currency, viz. the dollar. For instance, we may take a transaction in which Swiss francs are received in exchange for dollars as purchase of Swiss francs against dollar or sale of dollar against Swiss francs. The quotation for Swiss franc is Swiss franc 1.5425 and Swiss franc 1.5440 per dollar. While buying dollar at the quoting bank would part with the fewer francs per dollar, and while selling dollars would require as many francs as possible. Thus, Swiss franc 1.5425 is the dollar buying rate and DEM 1.5440 is the dollar selling rate. It may be observed that when viewed from dollar, the exchange quotation partakes the character of a direct quotation and the maxim buy low, sell high is applicable. Now, let us discuss about forward margin or swap points. Dollar or foreign currency quotation. At Singapore market, dollar may be quoted against Dutch mark and French franc as given on the screen. The forward margin, also called swap margin or swap points, is quoted in terms of points. A point is the last decimal place in the exchange quotation. Thus, in a 4-digit quotation, a point is 0.0001. In a 2-decimal quotation, it is 0.01. As against Swiss franc, the forward margin for dollar is Swiss franc 0.0050/0.0060. Since the order in which the forward margin is ascending, forward dollar is at premium. Premium is added to the spot rate to arrive at the forward rates, both in respect of purchase and sale transactions. Based on the data given on the screen, the forward rates for dollar against Swiss francs are arrived as given on the screen. Now, let us discuss foreign currency or dollar quotation. Let us assume the following exchange rate are prevailing. Against dollar, the forward pound sterling is at premium. Premium should be added to the spot rate to arrive at the forward rate. Thus, the forward rates for pound sterling are as given on the screen. Now, factors determining spot exchange rate. First, balance of payment. Balance of payment represents the demand for and supply of foreign exchange, which ultimately determine the value of the currency. Exports, both visible and invisible, represent the supply side for foreign exchange. Imports, visible and invisible, create demand for foreign exchange. Put differently, export from the country creates demand for the currency of the country in the foreign exchange market. The exporters would offer to the market the foreign currencies they have acquired and demand in the exchange the local currency. Conversely, inputs in the country will increase the supply of the currency of the country in the foreign exchange market. Conversely, imports into the country will increase the supply of the currency of the country in the foreign exchange market. When the balance of payments of a country is continuously at deficit, it implies that the demand for the currency of the country is lesser than its supply. Therefore, its value in the market declines. If the balance of payment is in surplus consistently, it shows that the demand for the currency in the exchange market is higher than its supply. Therefore, the currency gains in value. Second, inflation. Inflation in the country would increase the domestic prices of the commodities. With increase in prices, exports may dwindle because the price may not be competitive. With the decrease in exports, the demand for the currency would also decline. This in turn would result in the decline of external value of the currency. It may be noted that unit change in exchange rate is the relative rate of inflation in the two countries that cause change in exchange rates. If, for instance, both India and the USA experience 10% inflation, the exchange rate between rupee and dollar will remain the same. If inflation in India is 15% and in USA is 10%, the increase in prices would be higher in India than it is in USA. Therefore, the rupee will depreciate in value relative to US dollar. Empirical studies have shown that inflation has a definite influence on the exchange rate in the long run. The trend of exchange rates between two currencies has tended to hover around the basic rate discounted for the inflation factor. The actual rates have varied from the trend only by a small margin, which is acceptable. However, this is true only when there is no drastic change in the country. New resources found may upset the trend. Also, in short run, the rates fluctuate widely from the trend set by the inflation rate. These fluctuations are accounted for by causes other than inflation. Next, interest rate. The interest rate has a great influence on the short-term movement of capital. When the interest rate in a country rises, it attracts short-term funds from other countries. This would increase the demand for the currency in the country and hence its value. Rising of interest rate may be adopted by a country due to tight money condition or as a deliberate attempt to attract foreign investment. Whatever may be the intention, the effect of an increase in interest rate is to strengthen the currency of the country through larger inflow of investment and reduction in the outflow of investments by the residents of the country. Next is money supply. An increase in money supply in the country will affect the exchange rate through causing inflation in the country. It can also affect the exchange rate directly. An increase in money supply in the country relative to its demand will lead to a large scale spending on foreign goods and purchase of foreign investments. Thus, the supply of the currency in the foreign exchange market is increased and its value declines. The downward pressure on the external value of the currency then increases the cost of imports and so adds to inflation. The effect of money supply on exchange rate directly is more immediate than its effect through inflation. While in the long run, inflation seems to correlate exchange rate variations in a better way, in the short run, exchange rates move more in sympathy with changes in money supply. One explanation of how changes in money supply vary the exchange rate is the total money supply in the country represents the value of total commodities and services in the country. Based on this, the outside world determines the external value of the currency. If the money supply doubles, the currency will be valued at half the previous value, so as to keep the external value of the total money stock of the country constant. The excess money created, the extent they are in excess of domestic demand for money, will flow out of the country. This will increase the supply of currency and pull down its exchange rate. Next, national income. An increase in national income reflects increase in the income of the residents of the country. This increase in the income increases the demand for goods in the country. If there is underutilized production capacity in the country, this will lead to increase in production. There is a chance for growth in exports too. But more often it takes time for the production to adjust to the increased income. Where the production does not increase in accordance with income rise, it leads to increased imports and increased supply of the currency of the country in the foreign exchange market. The result is similar to that of inflation and decline in the value of currency. Thus, an increase in national income will lead to an increase in investment or in consumption, and accordingly its effect on the exchange rate will change. Here again, it is the relative increase in national incomes of the countries concerned that is to be considered and not the absolute increase. Next, resource discoveries. When the country is able to discover key resources, its currency gains in value. A good example can be the impact of oil in exchange rates. When the supply of oil from major suppliers such as Middle East became insecure, the demand for the currencies of countries self-sufficient in oil increased. Previous oil crises favored USA, Canada, UK and Norway and adversely affected the currencies of oil importing countries like Japan and Germany. Similarly, discovery of oil by some countries helped their currencies to gain in value. The discovery of North Sea oil by Britain helped pound sterling to rise to over USD 2.40 from USD 1.60 in a couple of years. Canadian dollar also benefited from the discoveries of oil and gas of the Canadian East Coast and the Arctic. Next, capital movements. There are many factors that influence movement of capital from one country to another. Short-term movement of capital may be influenced by the offer of higher interest in a country. If the interest rate in a country rises due to increase in bank rate or otherwise, reverse will happen in case of fall in interest rates. Suitable investment climate and political stability may encourage portfolio and direct investments in the country. This leads to higher demand for the currency and upward trend in its rate. Poor economic outlook may mean repatriation of the investments leading to decreased demand and lower exchange value for the currency of the country. Movement of capital is also caused by external borrowing and assistance. Large-scale external borrowing will increase the supply of foreign exchange in the market. This will have a favorable effect on the exchange rate of the currency of the country. When repatriation of principal and interest starts, the rate may be adversely affected. Next, political factors. Political stability induced confidence in the investors and encourages capital inflow into the country. This has the effect of strengthening the currency of the country. On the other hand, where the political situation in the country is unstable, it makes the investors withdraw their investments. The outflow of capital from the country would weaken the currency. Any news about change in the government or political leadership or about the policies of the government would also have the effect of temporarily throwing out of gear the smooth functioning of exchange rate mechanism. Cross rates and chain rule. In India, buying rates are calculated on the assumption that the foreign exchange acquired is disposed of abroad in the international market and the proceeds realized in US dollars. The US dollars thus acquired would be sold in the local interbank market to realize the rupee. For example, if the bank purchased a Swiss franc 10,000 bill, it is assumed that it will sell Swiss francs at the Singapore market and acquire US dollars there. The US dollars are then sold in the interbank market against Indian rupee. The bank would get the rate for US dollars in terms of Indian rupees in India. This would be the interbank rate for US dollars. It would also get the rate for US dollars in terms of Swiss franc at the Singapore market. The bank has to quote the rate to the customer for Swiss franc in terms of Indian rupee. The fixing of rate of exchange between the foreign currency and Indian rupee through the medium of some other currency is done by a method known as chain rule. The rate thus obtained is the cross rate between these currencies. Okay, let us summarize today's session. In today's session, we learnt various currency quotes existing in foreign exchange market. These currency quotes included two-way quotations, further the two types, direct as well as indirect quotations, spot and forward quote transactions, calculation of spot rates with premium and discounts, understanding the forward margin or swap points and its calculation, exchange rate in international market and its Indian context. Apart from this, we also discussed the factors determining the spot exchange rate, which included balance of payment, inflation, interest rate, money supply, national income, resource discoveries, political factors, etc. All this understanding will hopefully help you in further study of international finance. Thank you.